Okay, good evening, everyone. Today is January 22nd, Wednesday evening at 7 p.m. This is the meeting of the Town of Westport, Massachusetts Personnel Board. Under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20F, this meeting is being recorded. This meeting is being held remotely in accordance with the Governor of Massachusetts, March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, GL, General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 20, and on March 29, 2023, Governor Healy signed a supplemental 2023 budget allowing remote and hybrid meeting options for public bodies through March 31 of 2025, which will be coming up in just 2 months. As I indicated, this meeting is being recorded. Okay, so good evening, everyone. We have just a couple of items to discuss this evening. I don't want to keep anyone too long. The first item, first of all, we're happy to have Carol Freitas, the Veteran Service Officer, joining us this evening, and we're going to discuss a request not only by her, but by the town administrator to increase the salary of the Veteran Service Officer. As you may recall, the Personnel Board, in conjunction with the Select Board, had a salary survey done of many of our surrounding communities and comparable communities in the area to view whether or not the town of Westport is being competitive in its not only hourly rates, but salary rates, annual salary rates. And the Veteran Service Officer was certainly one that did come to our attention as being the lowest in the range, if lower in the ranges, if not one of the very lowest overall in the area. Carol, I know that you made a presentation to the Finance Committee earlier for your budget, but we really did not discuss your salary. I will preface this by saying that I believe the Select Board has not taken this item up for discussion yet. The town administrator has given it to the Personnel Board first to address the item, and I believe you are going to meet with the Select Board next week. Is that correct? Do you know?
I do not know. I have not been informed of a meeting with the Select Board.
I don't think they've posted. I don't think they've put together their agenda yet, but perhaps it's either next week or the meeting after that they will address that. We have plenty of time before the budget takes effect, and certainly before town meeting the first week in May. So I'm going to let you make your case. I know that there have been some figures discussed, and why don't you just make your case, Carol?
Okay. So I don't know if you can see me. I have my PowerPoint presentation. So basically, I'm requesting a salary increase to $75,000, and that is based on data from 3 sources. The first one is a salary survey from 12 communities in the southeastern part of Massachusetts. Includes Abington, Dartmouth, East Bridgewater, Easton, Fairhaven, Mansfield, Norton, Raynham, Rockland, Somerset, Swansea, and Whitman. I did not include any cities. Obviously, their population is drastically different from ours. The second item is the study that Cindy referenced, the GovHR classification and compensation study. And the third is the 2023 town salaries report that I found on the website. So based on the salary survey, this is for my current salary, which is $60,000. This should be 440. There's an extra 0. I apologize.
That's right.
And so of the 13 communities that I included in the survey, this ranking is where I fall, with 1 being the lowest, 2 being second to the lowest. So that's just the annual salary. When you factor in the hours per week that we're scheduled to work, because not every VSO works 40 hours a week like I do, my hourly rate is at the lowest at $29.06. And so you can see the average salary, the average hourly rate, the lowest, the highest, and where my salary and the hourly rate are different from the average. It's significantly lower by.
I want to interrupt you 1 second, Carol. Do you
Yes.
by any chance have the ability to share your PowerPoint?
Oh, I'm sorry. I do.
Yeah.
Yes. 'Cause you
I
couldn't
don't
see
think
that.
I don't think we all have it in front of us, but
Right.
that's
I'm
okay.
sorry.
That's okay. While you're pulling
Um,
that up, I was remiss in when we started the meeting. I should indicate what members of the Personnel Board are present. So while you're pulling that up, I will indicate that Gary Carrero, Carrie Cunha, and myself, Cindy Brown, from the Personnel Board are present at this meeting.
Okay. I don't know why it's showing. Let me ignore that message. Okay.
That's all right.
Is that better? Sorry.
Yeah, that's
So-
better. You can't blow it up any, can you?
Let me see if I can share
Stretch
it
it
in presentation
stretch it.
mode. Let me
Okay,
put it in
or stretch it a
presentation
little
mode.
bit. Sorry to put you on the tech,
No, that's
on the
okay.
tech hot seat.
Let me see. Let me do this. Okay. Sorry.
That's it. No, that's my fault. I should have asked you to do that sooner. Take your time.
I don't know if you can. Is it coming in?
Let's see. So right now I have a blank. Oh, there you go. That's the first page. Okay, that's
Okay.
better.
I don't know if it's any better.
Okay, well, go to
I'm
the next
sorry.
page. We'll see if it's better. But you can walk us through the numbers a little bit. I know the numbers will always look a little bit smaller, so that's okay. We get the gist of it.
I don't know why it's giving me this green dot.
Oh, I see. Yeah, we don't necessarily see that.
But it's not letting me change slides.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's interesting. Huh. Okay. All right. So why don't you just continue?
Okay, so
There you go. There you go.
oh, okay. All right. So my salary is from the average, my annual salary right now is $13,000 less than just the average. It's about $26,000 below the highest VSO. And then my hourly rate, as you can see, is a little over $9 per hour less than the average of what the 13 VSOs in this survey are making. So that is this year. When you just factor in the VSOs that work 40 hours a week, like me, it's still a lot lower, about $12,000 lower than the average salary, and about $6 per hour less when you factor in the hourly rate. So the next slide is very busy. I apologize.
That's all right.
So what I did was I asked how long they have been a VSO, what is their total population of their town, what is the veteran population, and I took these numbers from the U.S. Census, so it was the same source, right? So I didn't take numbers from different sources. I wanted it to be consistent. How many Chapter 115 cases they have? For those of you who don't know, Chapter 115 is Massachusetts Low-Income Financial Assistance Program for veterans and their surviving spouses. The number of hours they work per week, what their current salary is, I factored in the hourly rate, what their anticipated FY26 salary is, and that hourly rate. And then what I did, this last column, average ranking, is I rated everything from lowest to highest, 1 to whatever, because some are 13, some are less because I did ranges. And so based on that, if you see, Westport is the dark orange line. I'm third from the bottom of the overall average, but my salary is at the lowest or second to the lowest. So that's if I just get the 3% raise that the town is proposing. The $62,253 would be my FY26 salary. The next slide shows my requested salary of $75,000, and again, it does bump up my salary from second to the bottom to fifth place, which is still in the bottom, in my opinion, because there's 13 communities, and my hourly rate only goes to the third from the bottom. So that's the I have one more to show you. I'm sorry.
That's
So
all right.
this would be just a comparison of the VSOs who work 40 hours a week that were included in this survey. And so at 75,000, I would be right in the middle, right? I don't know Dartmouth's information. He's also negotiating. So I didn't include him. So of the remaining 4 and 5, including me, I would be right in the middle at 75,000. But I do have more experience than most of these VSOs that are on this list. Certainly more than Easton, more than Dartmouth, more than Swansea, and more than Fairhaven. So only the VSO in Rockland has been doing this job. Of these 6 communities, has been doing this job longer than me. And a few of the communities have more Chapter 115 cases than me, but most have in the same range, 30 to 39 as me. I don't have an exact number. I can't say if they're 30, if they're 39, if they're somewhere in between. Right. But I didn't ask for that. I just asked for ranges. So that's.
But in addition to that, you're also certified, correct?
So there's 2 terms. There's certified and there's accredited. So certified is what all VSOs have to be by the state in order for us to administer Chapter 115 and for the towns or cities to get the maximum reimbursement of 75%. I am accredited by the VA, and that is something that not all VSOs are. I believe of all of these 6 communities, the only other one who is accredited is Fairhaven. The others are not. They may be working on it. I don't know. But yes, I am VA accredited. And I took the initiative to do that myself once we found out that we were not covered under the state for doing VA claims. So I took the initiative and did that myself before the state came up with a system to try to accredit VSOs.
Dartmouth is also accredited. Matt's also accredited. I mean, certified.
Certified, yes, but I don't believe he's accredited to do VA claims, which is we found out is a violation of federal regulations.
So you're saying that every VSO ultimately should be accredited.
If they want to do VA claims, they have to be. Otherwise, they're violating federal regulation. Yes.
Okay. All right.
So basically, for the salary survey, the long and the short of it is that of these 13 communities, at least, I am on the lower end currently. I will still be on the lower end if I only get the 3% raise. And if I get what I'm asking for, 75,000, it would put me in about the middle of the pack. I thought that was fair. Some towns have more of a population, some have less, some have more of a veteran population, some have less. So I just put it right around the middle.
Now let me bounce something off of you now. Something that I just a thought that I've had. Would you be how acceptable would you look at an offer where it was a base, say, of 72 with a $3,000 stipend for your accreditation?
I mean, that does, in theory, put me at 75,000.
Right.
But when you're factoring raises for future years, the stipend doesn't get included. So it's not an even 3% or 2%, whatever the percent is that the town pays everyone.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
That's a valid concern. That's a valid concern.
So then I looked at the GovHR study, and that report, if you haven't seen it, that report recommended that my position be in grade level 9. And in that position with me is the recreation director, the assistant director / children's librarian, and all of the police and fire lieutenants, detective sergeants, police sergeants. When I was comparing salaries, I didn't really include the police and fire. I know they work a lot of overtime and they make a lot of money. But I did want to point this out, that the recommended salary range for grade 9 starts at $67,142, which is $6,700 more than what I'm currently making. If you added a 3% raise to that 67, that does put it at 69,156. So, given that that number was done in FY25 and we're talking about FY26, I thought it was fair to show that what I think that recommended pay would be if they were to include the 3% raise. I might be overstepping. And then the third thing I looked at was the salaries for the town for 2023, because that was the most recent information that I had available to me. So of all of the 15 employees that I identified, basically what I did is I went through the report, I looked at their position titles, compared it to the study, and put them in the grade that matched up with the study. So of the grade 9, my salary in 2023 was $56,000, which was the lowest by far of all of the positions. The 12 police, it was just police in that study of employees. They were just police. They made an average of $124,000. The assistant librarian made $61,000. The recreation director made $62,000. So you're looking at $5,000-$6,000 more than me in 2023. And I just feel like it's important to note that the recreation director only works 30 hours a week. I think she just got bumped up to 32, but at the time it was 30, which is 10 hours per week less than me. And then I also thought it was important to note that there were 18 employees, not including police officers and firefighters, that were in grade classifications lower than 9, who receive higher annual pay than me. Now, whether that's because they do overtime or they hold multiple positions, I don't know. But there were 3 in grades 3 and 4 each, 9 employees in grade level 5, 1 in grades 6, 7, and 8 each. Of those 18, 6 began employment for the town of Westport after me. I'm going to be at 6 years on April 1st. And 1 started in the same year as me, but I don't know if he started before or after me. So, I feel like based on what other veteran service officers in the area are making, and based on what other employees in the town of Westport are making, and based on the value that I have brought to the Veterans Department, the things that I have done for veterans and for the town of Westport, I feel like I don't want to say I'm entitled, but I feel like I've earned a $75,000 salary in comparison to everything that I mentioned.
Okay, I think that was an excellent presentation, Carol. I mean, I think that you've certainly done your homework. You used the resources that not only the town garnered, but you took the initiative and went on your own to dig out some further qualifying information that will help us along with this. Does anyone from the board have any questions of Carol, Carrie, or Gary?
Do you want me to stop sharing?
Sure.
Okay.
Anyone have any questions of Carol? Discussion?
No.
Does anyone want to open it up to discussion?
But that's it. I have no input other than that right now.
I can't sign on. Am I on there?
You're on.
Yep.
Oh, hi. My name is Gene Frezza.
Yes.
I am a disabled veteran, and
Welcome.
I just wanted to say that since I've met Carol and been involved with some personal items, you can't get a better representative in your town. And I'm online to support her and hope that you grant her her pay increase, because believe me, she works hard and she deserves it.
Well, I know that the accolades have been many. She has very many supporters, not only within town government, but certainly the clients that she serves have been very loyal to her, and certainly have appreciated all of the work that she has done for them, and her how much she cares for her clients, and how much she has certainly benefited all of the veterans that she's been able to reach out to and help along the way. Gary, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Somebody said they're having an audio issue.
Oh yeah, maybe that was Gary. Carrie, are you with us? I guess we're having audio. There we go. There we go. There's Gary.
Can you
Can
hear
you-
me?
Can you
Yep.
hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Yeah,
Okay,
the
so-
audio was off for some reason.
Yeah, okay, so we can hear you now, Gary.
Okay.
I know these remote meetings can be difficult at times. Well, I will come right out and say that I'm very supporting of this change. I know that the town administrator certainly has plans in the master budget to adjust your salary, if not at the level that you are requesting, certainly very close to that. The personnel board is now in a position where we can suggest the salary to the select board that we feel would be warranted for the position at this time. Ultimately, it's town meeting that determines the final amount when they go through the budget line items at town meeting for salaries versus expenses. So it still is up to the final say of town meeting, but certainly our recommendation, as well as that of the select board, will have an impact on how that's viewed by the public. So I would very much be in favor of granting the $75,000 increase with a $2,500 stipend for your accreditation, so that way your base, I totally agree that your base should be compounded to the level that that's warranted. We have to spend some time as a personnel board and just as a town to go through some of these different, particularly the grade 9 positions, some of which are supervisory, some are not. Some of them have, as in your case, you have a client base that you serve, which involves all hours of the day and night. I mean, you could get calls weekends, certainly in the evenings, early morning, whatever the time may be. And I know you were always very happy to answer the call, no matter what time that comes in. So all of those, all of those factors, need to be taken into account when we look at those things. And so, although we cannot have just one flat level amount for a grade 9 person, I think factors such as that have to be taken into consideration, and you certainly should not be at the bottom of that level. Even using the adjustment that we're including here, it is not putting you, I don't really feel, in the right tier of that, but it's a good start. I mean, for as you've heard the town administrator say, and certainly if you listen to any of the finance committee meetings as well, we're strapped for money every single year. Every year we spend the total amount allocated to the town right down pretty much to the penny. So it's we have to recognize where we need to reward people for the jobs that they do. And I think in this case, this is something that's long overdue, and that we should adjust it accordingly. But that's, my say. Carrie, do you have any thoughts on this?
I
Might
agree
be
with
on mute.
everything.
There you go. Yeah, go ahead.
I agree with everything. She works really hard, and I've
Thank
heard
you.
nothing but good things. And the national average, I know we're Westport, but it's a lot higher.
Right,
So
right.
I'm for it. Yeah. Great presentation as well.
Thank you.
Gary, do
So-
you have any
Yeah,
thoughts?
I just, can I just make a comment, Cindy? I think that, you know, us supporting this, you know, indirectly supports the veterans of Westport. And,
Absolutely.
you know, as you look at, and time progresses, thank God we're not in any major conflicts now where, back in the World War II era, where most of these folks have, passed on. But I think there's still the need for it because, just my experience, there's a lot of people that don't even know they have the benefits coming to them. And it's not a fault of any of the people that are in place. It's just that, no one, and some of them, it's out of pride, they just don't want to ask. And, I hope that, Carol works closely with the Council on Aging because I think those two organizations work hand in hand together. They, people are going to the Council on Aging. They may be able to share some of those resources, so on and so forth. So I completely support this. I think that it shows a good faith on not only this board, but hopefully the select board also support it. And like I said, indirectly support the veterans of Westport.
I agree. If there's $10,000 or $15,000 more that we need to spend in the budget this year, this is one of those areas. So can I entertain a motion with a salary figure?
I make a motion that we put the salary at 75,000 with the stipend there. Is this a 1-year contract? Is it a?
Are you
What?
year to year? Are you an employee at will?
Well, I am, but generally I do a 3-year contract.
Oh, 3-year. Okay.
So this is for a 3-year contract. So
Right.
are we discussing the terms of the contract or just the salary amount?
Just the salary amount for now. The town administrator would work out the details of
Yeah.
if there were any unusual items that they would kick back to the personnel board, but
Well, like
Sure.
COLAs and all that has to be negotiated, I'm assuming.
right. And typically they have gone along with the average of any of the union contracts. So right now, any of them get the 3%. So
Yeah.
I believe that's what they're looking for
Yes.
this year, and is a 3% increase. So so Gary has the motion on the table.
I'll second.
Okay, and Carrie has seconded it. Unless there's any other discussion, I'm going to say that we'll take a vote on establishing, recommending the rate to the select board be included in the budget for the upcoming year of a base rate of 75,000 with a $2,500 stipend in addition for the accreditation, the veteran service accreditation. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Right.
No opposed? We'll consider it unanimous. And thank you very much, Carol, for all you do. You had a great presentation.
Thank you so much. I really, really greatly appreciate the time and the support.
No, you go and enjoy your evening, and hopefully you won't get any calls tonight. It's cold out there, but thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Good night.
Bye.
Good night.
Good night. Excuse me, my throat's dry. Okay, so we have one other item that's fairly brief because we've actually already approved of it last year, and this was only solely for the job description itself, not necessarily approving the notion of the position. Once again, it's just for the job description. We really don't have any say over whether or not they should fund the position, but they've requested a job description of such. So last year we talked about a town engineer, and that was really more in anticipation of the Route 6 project. Currently, there's still a need for town engineering services. There's a great need for it in the highway department. And looking at the roads, there's a need for it in the planning department. When they're looking at some of their subdivision plans, rather than expending the money, not only in-house, quite often the developer will pay for the engineering, but the town also has their share of engineering studies that they do, but also someone to oversee and help with the oversight of cemetery. Right now, Jim oversees really the cemetery department, potentially the transfer station, possibly, and a higher level of the highway department. Whether or not those items are negotiated between those unions or anything, that's really up to the town administrator side. Our role has really just been to address the very small change in the job description, and that is that it would include that of oversight, potentially the oversight. And I'm going to look at let me look at the job description. It says here that it'd be a director of public infrastructure for managing the highway department, the town maintenance, and cemetery department operations of the town's engineering function, including public utilities. And the rest of it is, Jim sent me the red line, and that was the only red line changes from the previous job description, was that of really the title, and that it would be overseeing, managing the maintenance, cemetery department, highway department. So it's a small change, but a change nonetheless that falls on the lap of the personnel board. Currently, that position was funded in FY25 in the current year, but was never used because the Route 6 project did not move forward, and they're hoping to still use this. Once again, no differently than the veteran service officer, the final the final outcome of this has not been decided by the select board. There is one member of the select board that is has requested a very large umbrella type position. I think it would be very close to that of the Director of Public Works, which I guess was voted down in this town many years ago. Whether or not that's going to be revived, I don't know. So this is just purely a job description that's being put before us tonight. Nothing to do with warranting whether or not the position is whether it's worthy of the position. So Carrie, did you have any thoughts on this one way or the other?
During my research, I went down a rabbit hole with this.
I'm not surprised.
The title, I don't think it encompasses the full position.
Okay, so the title is as just to
Director of
refresh it.
Public Infrastructure.
Right.
I just flip the words around to like Municipal Infrastructure Director. That's it. It just encompasses a little bit more.
Okay, so how so? I mean, explain that to me.
Well, most this position in most towns, they don't usually have anything to do with cemetery, or it's usually just infrastructure, and that it doesn't include the cemetery. And like you said, I get the impression that this is going to be an umbrella position.
Right.
So I think the word municipal will help the person who's looking at this job description. maybe help them to understand that there's going to be a little bit more than normal
Mhm.
from other towns. There were a couple other suggestions I wrote
Okay.
down, but that one is the chief engineer and infrastructure manager. It was recommended that the word engineer should be in it as well, especially if we're requiring the professional engineer license.
Right, because in the job description, no differently than last year when it was before us, it does require a Bachelor of Science degree in civil engineering as well. So and to have a preference of being a licensed registered professional engineer, not a requirement, but a preferred requirement to be a licensed registered professional engineer, but certainly have the educational background of such. Gary, in Dartmouth, the cemeteries in Dartmouth, is that a totally different department?
Yes, this is it's almost apples to oranges.
Yeah,
If
because
you're
it's
trying
so
to compare
big.
Dartmouth to Westport, right? So
Right.
if you go back a few years ago and you look at what the proposal was, it was to bring in a DPW,
Right.
to bring in cemeteries, water sewer, if we would ever get that down the road. But and I was really against that back 10 years ago when they proposed that, probably some time now. But and because we don't have those particular, we don't have a sewer department, we don't have the the volume of a Dartmouth or a New Bedford or the city. And
Right.
I think to the point that was made, I think we're trying to do too much with the title, and
Yeah.
it's really not fitting to Westport, if you will. What do they want? Do they want an engineer? Do they want somebody that oversees cemeteries and parks? That's a whole separate department. I mean, you're going to have a DPW director, or I mean, we have a highway department. We don't even have a DPW. We don't have a
Right.
Department of Infrastructure. We have a highway department. So that's the point. I think that, in my opinion, I think we need a little bit more clarification on what the scope of this really is going to end up being. I'm not comfortable with voting on any of this, to be honest with you,
Yeah.
without knowing a little bit more on what the plan 5 years down the road is going to be. Do we want to make a DPW again? Do we want to bring that up? I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's because of exactly what you identified is the problem, is that we're not big enough to have, separate jobs for these things. So we have to kind of put a bunch of things in the bucket. So for example, we'll just say, had the Route 6 project gone through, the town engineer would have had a boatload of projects to work on, right? As it is now, because Jim has planning board experience, quite often he fills the role of a lot of the things that's in this job description, right? So he looks at, engineering designs. He looks at a lot of these things because there's the highway department, that the highway surveyor does not have an engineering background. So if there are quick things that come in that involve engineering or road work or something like that, Jim ends up being the one that needs to take a look at that. The cemetery department has 3 people in it. And Jim ends up being they do have a foreman, but he ends up overseeing the cemetery department because there really isn't anybody else. If they have a problem, they have to go to Jim. So anytime anybody has a problem, they always end up going to Jim. And they're trying to parcel out some of these things, no differently than when we discussed on the call the other night, an HR department, because so many things end up on his lap. And this was one case, and I don't disagree with you, Gary, that I think it needs more clarification. But I think this is the reason why they requested the change, is because they can't justify a full-time engineer. They need an engineer that can also oversee this and oversee that and oversee this, because no one job is a full-time job.
Right, but
And-
in municipal, I think in the municipal world, an engineer does not oversee highway and road maintenance. It doesn't oversee, an engineer is specific to the design of roads. It doesn't look at, parks and cemeteries. It doesn't look at all these other things. I think that they're trying to wrap into this infrastructure,
Right,
role. And
Right.
to me, let them clearly define what they're looking for before we go ahead and slap a job description on something. I think that
I think that's fair enough, and we can at least report back to them that we discussed this and that we don't feel that, that the vision is clear enough as to what truly this position is going to cover. Because we don't know if they will get the sign off from, from the unions on some of these things. I mean, there's a lot of clauses in these union contracts that we're not even aware of, that, change of management or change of this or change of that triggers an event in the overall negotiate in the contract, and it reopens up the contract. So I think it's fair that we can tell them that we discussed the issue, and that they need to come back to us with a more clearly defined role of,
yeah, I mean, to the point, we can, you can say, well, does the engineer, does an engineer roads? Are they also responsible for the maintenance of the roads, the plowing of the roads? I mean, that's in my mind, two totally
Yeah.
separate functions.
right, right,
In normal circumstances, in any other community that I've ever been in, an engineer is the design of the road. That's it. There's no commingling of that. Like in
Right.
Dartmouth, in the structure in Dartmouth, we have engineers. We have the DPW director, who is the he's the DPW director. He oversees the entire operation.
Mhm.
But we don't have a DPW. That's kind of what I'm getting at. We have a highway department.
right. Okay, well, that's fair enough. I mean, like I said, we don't, there isn't anything pending in front of us that we need to take action on this tonight. We can easily send it back to them for additional clarification. As I indicated, there's one member on the select board that definitely wanted to move forward with it under this type of description, but it certainly has not had the full vote of the board as to what they really want to do.
Okay, and
So-
who is that? Who is that member? Is that public?
Yeah, it was in a public meeting. It's Manny Soares. Manny is the one that is pushing to have this type of structure. But the other board members they've not even had a discussion about it yet. So
That should happen.
Yeah. Okay, so we can kick it back to them. Okay. Unless there's anything else to discuss.
We have minutes.
Yeah, we have minutes. I will make one note. Jess, I know, Jess, you're on with us. On the minutes, could you include with the minutes going forward, just for matters of public record, if we vote, say, on a job description, that we include the job description with the minutes, please? Okay, so just because when I was going through the past minutes, and we had voted back in April on several job descriptions, and I know they ended up going to town meeting, but the actual job description themselves are not posted in town meeting. It's just the pay grade level and the notation of what level they're at. So Jess, when we do the minutes, just make sure that you include, if we're discussing a job description, make sure you include the actual description with it. Okay.
No problem.
Okay, thank you. I will make a motion on accepting the minutes. I believe it was April 3rd and, I forgot what the other date was here.
July 16th.
July 16th. I make a motion to, accept both of those, minutes.
Please follow the instructions on the.
I'll second.
Welcome.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
We'll do a, I'm
Aye.
sorry, we had to do a roll call, and I failed to do a roll call earlier. So for purposes of,
Your item in the bag.
legality in the meeting, could we revisit the, meeting, Gary, you sound like are you checking into a hotel?
Let's stop and shop.
Please.
Oh, you're stopping shop. You're multitasking. There you go. You're multitasking. You can run out to your car now that you're done through your checkout and warm up your car at least anyway. You can do the remote start. I'm going to do a quick roll call vote of the prior vote increasing the salary of the veteran service officer to $75,000 base with a $2,500 stipend. Cindy Brown, aye. Carrie?
Aye.
Carrie Cunha?
Carrie Cunha, aye.
Great. Okay, so now we have that recorded legally since it's a remote meeting. I keep forgetting that. So there's no vote necessary for this for the meeting regarding the engineer, but we'll take a roll call vote on the minutes. So I accept the minutes of April 3rd and July 16th. Cindy Brown, aye.
Carrie
Gary?
Cunha, aye.
Okay,
Sorry.
and Gary?
Yes.
Okay, so we've got those recorded. So now we're legal. So I just want to make sure we had that taken care of. I apologize to anyone that's watching this recording that we got a little bit jumbled up here in our votes. So I apologize. Okay, well, I have nothing else before us. I was contacted by another department about a job description, but I found out that we already did that job description last year, so I think that we're fine. I don't have any other topics to bring up other than a future meeting. Perhaps maybe we'll do this after town meeting or maybe just before town meeting. We should have a session at some point and have the members of the personnel board look closely once again at the salary survey and see if there are any other things that stuck out. I think any department heads that felt that they've been shortchanged have spoken up and addressed that. I mean, that the one that sticks out who will not speak up about it is the town administrator. And he, I believe, came in dead last of any of the towns that were surveyed for town administrator. I believe that his salary at 140 was at the very bottom of the list. There might have been one town, but he was only a part-time town administrator that was below that. But and of course, he won't put in an increase on his own. But any department heads that have felt that they were wronged, the town clerk comes to mind, but we do not cover that position as an elected position. She has also requested an adjustment in her salary, also as a Category 9 employee. So,
Cindy, I have a question.
yeah.
How is this being handled? I mean, we've got the survey, we've got comparables now, comparisons from a company that we paid a decent amount of money for to accomplish this. At some point, is the select board going to accept the provisions of the survey, or are we going to be just people coming in and one-offs. I mean, to me, I mean, I don't mind, but I think that this is got to be an executive decision that, you know, the select board accepts the provisions of the survey, and then, you know, if they want to adjust salary scales at that point, they have to, or they should.
Well,
You know-
they accepted the report. They had an opportunity to interview the firm that did the study. And surprisingly, with the exception of, a few that stick out, most of which have now been addressed. I believe the head of the library, the head librarian was one, veteran services another, town clerk is another. There are a handful of positions out there that stuck out. They were mainly managerial ones. The hourly rate people, including highway, seemed to fall kind of within the boundaries. There weren't too many that stuck out too much one way or the other. I believe the police chief may have been a little bit shy, but that's a negotiated contract between the select board and the police chief. Other than that, I have to admit that I was surprised that we came out as equitable as we did. It really wasn't that far off. There weren't too many positions other than the ones that I mentioned that strayed away from what the average is. So what I started to say is that at some point, we should all take it upon ourselves to go back to that report a little bit. We all have things to do, but go back to that report and see if there really were some things that stuck out. There were a lot of things to digest, to get through in reading it and try to understand how they arrived at some of the numbers that they did. But by the time you get to the end, you can kind of figure out where we stand. The town administrator is the final one that sticks out with me. And I think it behooves the select board, to recognize that and to say, look, we really do underpay our town administrator. And Jim, when you're doing the budget, you should address that salary inequity and include, I mean, gosh, even if they gave him $10,000 more above the 3%, I mean, I think that would go a long way in recognizing we have a $50 million budget. We should be able to find $10,000. Okay. I mean, there's 10,000 somewhere that we can find in this budget that if we feel that someone is being underpaid and at risk of losing because they're being underpaid, we should find that money, particularly when we have documentation showing they are significantly underpaid. So,
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
I know you're doing management, but a thing that sticks with me is our average pay is 40 grand a year. And I don't think that's livable, but obviously these aren't management positions. Do you want to do anything with those?
When you say our average pay, who are you referring to?
Like the people that run the cameras, those type of positions.
Well, on an hourly basis, I mean, I can look and see and look at that one again if that's one that I overlooked. I mean, I don't know if on an hourly basis if they're underpaid. I mean, they may only make 40,000, but they're not working full time. If I didn't pay attention to that, I'll go back and look at it. If you
I'll
think
look
that
at it
there's-
too again.
Yeah, you should look at it too. I mean, I don't know. We never see, Gary, do we ever see the cable TV budget come before the finance committee?
I think that's under it's not an enterprise. I don't know. I don't think that's an enterprise fund. I think that's under select board.
Select board, right? So,
Yeah.
we
But I
can
think to the point. Yeah, I think to the point that's made, I don't think we can single out individual positions. I don't want to say people. I'm talking
Right.
positions
right,
because we don't talk about people. We talk about positions.
right.
I think that again, going back to my comment, I think the select board needs to be the one that digests this report and globally through the town makes and accepts changes, whether that be through the unions, whether that be, and this takes a long time. It's not going to happen overnight, but
Right,
I don't think we can singly say, oh, I'm just making up the highway department, we got a foreman in there. They should be making X.
right,
That
right.
really isn't that's not something we should be doing. That's something the executive board should be doing. And we've got the data. We paid good money for it. I think that they need to now digest it and move forward with it. It's either a yes or a no. It's very simple. If they go to the 75th percentile or the 80th percentile, then they need to, and what is the cost of that? That really what needs to be projected, not only to the residents, but the finance committee, so on and so forth.
Right, right. I see your point, Gary, where you're saying, that we should have a resounding level saying, okay, we should be at the 75th percentile or whatever amount that is. Because let's face it, the employees in town do not work for the personnel board. They work under the supervision of the Board of Selectmen, not the personnel board. They don't work for us. The select board is their boss, not us.
That's my point.
Right.
That the select board should be the ones, the executive branch should be the ones that are digesting that report and going
Correct.
and moving forward with it.
Correct.
Yay or nay, one
Correct.
way or another.
Yeah.
Because
that's a
if you
good
talk,
point.
I mean, the employees do know that this survey was done, obviously. So,
Oh, yeah.
they could be waiting. I mean, they're probably waiting for the select board to make a decision on what needs to be done. What's the next steps?
Right. I will definitely have a conversation with the town administrator about that to discuss that. Okay. That's a good point.
Perfect.
That's a good point. Okay. I don't have any other items. We don't have anything else on the agenda, so we really don't have much else that we can discuss. So, absent that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
There you go.
Second.
Okay, so unfortunately, we have to take a roll call vote. So Carrie Cunha,
Oh. Aye.
Gary Carrero,
Yes.
Cindy Brown, yes. Okay, good night.